Assalamu alaikum students. Today we are discussing the questions regarding the epithelial tissue which comes in the exam, and these questions can be in the form of SCQs, short answer questions, MCQs, and of course viva questions which are usually asked in the practical examination. So the first question is define epithelium, classify covering epithelium along with their examples and their location. And now the definition of epithelium carries 0.25 marks, and you know how do you define epithelium? Closely packed cells, sheet of closely packed cells with little extracellular matrix. So this is how you define the epithelium. Now the classification, it is divided into simple epithelium, stratified epithelium which have got 2 or more layers, and pseudo stratified, that is the special epithelium. Special epithelium. This is the example is pseudo stratified epithelium. So if you have written this, you have got 0.25 marks each. So together with these 0.75 marks and together with the marks for the definition, you will get 1 mark. Now the examples and their location. Further classification, examples and their location. Now for the simple one is divided into squamous, cuboidal and columnar. Squamous is present in the lining of vessels. This is known as endothelium. Serous lining of cavities, pericardium, pleura, peritoneum. Here it is called mesothelium. So simple squamous epithelium in the lining of the cavities is known as mesothelium. This is often asked in the MCQ or in the viva question. And in the lining of the alveoli of the lung, and in the Bowman's capsule of the kidney. So these are other examples. So if you write one example, this is enough, and you will get 0.5 marks for this. Then the cuboidal epithelium, covering of the ovary and present in the thyroid follicles with 0.5 marks. Columnar epithelium, simple columnar epithelium and lining of intestine, gallbladder. Then the stratified layer having 2 or more layers of cells, stratified squamous. So this is present, this is of 2 types, stratified squamous keratinized and non-keratinized. So the example of keratinized is epidermis, while the example of non-keratinized is moist surfaces. So this stratified squamous epithelium is present on the moist surfaces. So the skin is not moist, it is exposed to the outside, so it contains keratinized epithelium, while these structures which are present near the exterior and they are moist. So the stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium is present here. So the example is mouth, esophagus, larynx, vagina, anal canal. So second is the cuboidal epithelium, stratified cuboidal epithelium. It is present in the ducts of the sweat glands or the ducts of the glands and the developing ovarian follicles. So 0.5 marks here, 0.5 marks here. And then the transitional epithelium, it is also a type of stratified epithelium. So it is present in the bladder, ureter and calyxes, renal calyces. So 0.5 for this. Now the columnar, stratified columnar epithelium. So this is present only in the, this epithelium is only present in the conjunctiva. So this is a very important viva question. asked usually by the examiners that what kind of epithelium is present only in one place. So the example is stratified columnar epithelium, and it is usually present in the conjunctiva. Now the third type is the special type, that is the pseudostratified epithelium, and it is present in the lining of trachea, bronchi, nasal cavities. So 0.5 for this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 4.5. So we have got 4.5 marks if you write this much in this question. So second question is, what is polarity of the epithelial cells? Name the modifications of the apical surface of the epithelial cells. And second part is give the ultrastructure of gynoecilia. And what is Cartagner syndrome? Mutation in proteins of which structure result in this syndrome? So the polarity of epithelial cells. Polarity of epithelial cells. What is polarity of epithelial cells? So this carries 0.5 marks. And polarity of epithelial cells means that the epithelial cells have got sites which are specialized to do certain functions. So an epithelial cells have got an apical surface, which is the free surface, apical surface, which is the free surface, and it usually faces the lumen, and then the lateral surfaces, which presents the junctions between the cells, and the basal surface, which is in contact with the underlying basal lamina and have got anchoring junctions which anchor the cell with the underlying tissue. So this is the polarity of the cell. So if you write this much, you will get 0.5 marks. Then name the modifications of the apical surface of the epithelial cells. Whenever name or enumerate or enlist comes, you will write only the names. You will only enlist these structures, okay? Or you will only enumerate these structures. So the cilia, stereocilia, and microvilli. So these are the three. So you will get 0.5 marks for each, and this is 1.5. Now what is the ultrastructure of the gynoecilia? So gynoecilia, it consists of microtubules, and the microtubules have arrangement of 9+2 arrangement of exonemes. And you will elaborate its structure, its ultrastructure. So if you elaborate it properly, you will get the 2.5 marks. And what is Cartagner syndrome? And mutation in the proteins of which structure result in this syndrome? So what is Cartagner syndrome? Cartagner syndrome is also known as immotile cilia syndrome, and this results in due to dysfunction of the cilia in the cells. And mutation in proteins of which structure results in this syndrome? Obviously the mutation in the proteins of the cilia results in this Cartagner syndrome. So this is how you will get the whole marks if you write this much. Now this is the table showing the differences between. So sometimes a question comes which shows that you have to enlist or name the apical surface modifications, and then you have to give their ultra differences. So I have told you that these are 3-1 microvilli, stereocilia and cilia. So general structure, number one, general structure on cross section, how they appear, motion trajectory, what is their motion trajectory, and what is their localization and function. So general structure of the microvilli, 1 to 3 micrometer in length, bundle of actin filaments anchored in the terminal web. So terminal web is this part of the cytoskeleton, and actin filaments are present in the interior of the microvilli. And on cross section, core of actin filaments cross-linked by actin binding proteins are present, and their diameter is 50 to 100 nanometer. And motion trajectory is passive movement occurs in the microvilli due to contraction of the terminal web. So this is through and fro movement, just to shake the fluid present around the microvilli to make new fluid with more nutrients to surround the microvilli, so as these nutrients get absorbed. Then localization, present in many epithelial cells, increase absorptive surface area of the cell, and visible in light microscope as striated border. So intestinal absorptive cells, in intestinal absorptive cells, they are known as striated border, while in the kidney tubular cells where absorption occurs, they are known as brush borders. Then the stereocilia. Now stereocilias are considerably longer, up to 120 micrometer. Actin filament bundles are present and anchored in the terminal web, capable of regeneration. So these are also like microvilli, but they are longer in length, and their length can be up to 120 micrometer, while the microvilli are only 1 to 3 micrometer in length. They can be up to 120 micrometer in length, and they can be branching. They can be branching. They usually unite with each other and form a branching pattern. And on cross section, actin filaments cross-linked by actin binding proteins, and their diameter is larger, 100 to 150 nanometer. And a kind of movement, it is also passive movement due to fluid flow, and it is present in the genital system, or vibration of the endolymph in the inner ear. So this is the passive movement, to and fro movement, and it has limited distribution. It is present in male reproductive system, that is epididymis, proximal part of ductus deferens, this have got absorptive function. And in the sensory hair cells in the inner ear, they function as mechanoreceptors. Now the cilia. Now they are 5 to 10 micrometer in length, and they have got axoneme, basal bodies. Basal bodies, they are the part of the cytoskeleton, and the core of microtubules arranged in 9+2 pattern with associated motor proteins, and diameter is about 250 nanometers. So their diameter is more as compared to the villi and microvilli. The microvilli and these stereocilia. And movement trajectory is active movement. Now this is not a passive movement, this is rather an active movement, rapid forward movement with slow recovery stroke. So this is like an escalator. You have used escalators in the shopping malls, and you see once you stand on the escalator, it takes you to the top. So this is how the fluid in the respiratory tract, or the particles in the respiratory tract is taken towards the exterior, and fluid is taken towards the interior. So by this movement, escalatory movement. and most commonly found in epithelia, which function in the transporting secretions, proteins, foreign bodies or cells on their surfaces. So oviduct, trachea, bronchial tree, brain ependyma, olfactory epithelium. This cilia is present in in most of the cells of the body, except some cells, that is the adult skeletal muscle cells, and in sperms they are absent. Not sperm, the ova they are absent. So they are also present on the sperm cells as flagella and provides a forward movement to the sperm cells. So another question which comes in the exam is the name the modifications of lateral and basal surfaces of the epithelial cells. How will you differentiate between structural features of various cell junctions? So you have to name the lateral and basal surface modifications, that is the cell junctions. So 3 junctions is at the lateral surface, while 1 junction is at the basal surface. And the differentiation features. So the various cell junction types are the tight junctions, adherent junctions, that is the zonula adherens, desmosomes, macula adherens, hemidesmosomes, that is present in the basal surface of the cells, and gap junctions. So these are the 5 types of junctions which are present, and you can see the 5 types of junctions. And now the junction is between the 2 cells. Now these are the cells you can see here. These are the 2 cells which are lying here. Okay, so this is the intercellular space. Now these 2 cell membranes are linked by certain proteins which are lying in between the 2 cell membranes, extending from the cell membrane and lying in the intercellular space. And then the cytoskeletal component, which is lying here near beneath the cell membrane, cytoskeletal, immediately beneath the cell membrane, cytoskeletal component. Okay, so major transmembrane protein link proteins in case of tight junctions or zonula occludens is the occludins and claudins and Z-proteins, occludins, claudins and Z-proteins. While in case of zonula adherens, these are E-cadherins, cation complexes. While in the desmosomes, cadherin family, that is desmogalins and desmocolins. In case of hemidesmosomes, these are integrins. While in case of gap junctions, the transmembrane proteins are known as connexins. Now this second part is the cytoskeletal component. This one, cytoskeletal component. In case of tight junctions, these are actin filaments. In case of adherent junctions, these are filaments. In case of desmosomes, these are intermediate filaments. While hemidesmosomes also contain intermediate filaments and none in the gap junctions. Major function. Now the major function of the tight junction is to seal adjacent cells to one another, controlling passage of molecules between them, separates the apical and basolateral membrane domains. So here, tight junctions are located here. They are separating the apical and lateral membrane domains. Now, these tight junctions, the intercellular gap is, there is no intercellular gap present in the tight junctions. Now in case of adherent junctions, they provide point linking the cytoskeleton of the adjacent cell and strengthens and stabilizes nearby tight junctions. So Then are present the zonula adherens, and they have some gap in them. Also, the desmosomes, they provide points of strong intermediate filament coupling between adjacent cells, strengthening the tissue. So they are like the pins of stapler. When you staple up the papers at a certain place, so there is a small disc like place where you staple it, not the whole surface. So these act like staple, and the hemidesmosomes are they anchor the cytoskeleton to the basal lamina. Hemi means on one side is present the skeletal component, the cytoskeletal component, but it is it is connecting with the components of basal lamina. It allows, so gap junctions allows direct transfer of small molecules and ions from one cell to another. Medical significance, defects in occludens may compromise the fetal blood-brain barrier, leading to severe neurological disorders. And also tight junctions present in the intestinal tract, if they become leaky, there is a lot of diarrhea. So fluid, it is wasted. Loss of ecadherins in the epithelial cell tumors promotes tumor invasion and the shift to malignancy. So they have role in metastasis. Desmosomes, autoimmunity against desmogelin 1 leads to adhesive skin disorders characterized by reduced cohesion between the epidermal cells. In hemidesmosome, mutations in integrins are linked to some types of epidermolysis bullosa, a skin blistering disorder. While in the gap junction, mutations in various connexin genes have been linked to certain types of deafness and peripheral neuropathy. So another question which can come in the form of SCQ is draw and label transitional epithelium in contracted state of urinary bladder. So as you know, what is contracted state? When the urinary bladder is empty. So in this state, the epithelium is more in layers, 6 to 8 layers. And if a question comes that draw and label transitional epithelium in relaxed state of urinary bladder, or this is the same relaxed state, or the contracted state is the same, while the distended urinary bladder, if it comes like the distended urinary bladder, distended state of urinary bladder, then the epithelium will be of 2 to 3 layers thick, and you know how to draw it, and this carries 5 marks. Okay, so this draw and labeling the epithelium, it can come in with the direct question like draw and label simple squamous epithelium, draw and label stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium or keratinized epithelium, or the pseudostratified epithelium or the transitional epithelium. Or it can come in the form of an indirect question asking you to draw and label epithelium lining the blood vessels. So this is the endothelium, simple squamous epithelium, serous lining of the cavities, or it can be lining of the intestinal tract. So this is simple columnar with ciliated, with microvilli, simple columnar with goblet cells with microvilli in it. And if a question comes, draw and label epithelium of the so there was a question in the paper in the university that draw and label epithelium present in the sole of the foot, in the skin of the sole of the foot, skin of the sole of the foot. So the students were very much confused, and they were confused. They were confused and they were tricked, and they couldn't answer this question. They were unable to draw the epithelium, but it's very simple. Solar foot contains all of the skin. When the word skin is coming, all of the skin of the body, it contains keratinized epithelium. So but what is the difference in the sole of the foot or in any other part of the, for example, dorsum of the hand or the dorsum of the foot, that the keratin layer is very thick here in the sole of the foot. So the students were confused as to what they have to draw. So don't be confused by it. Only just think, and you know what is the answer, but you get confused and you are unable to answer the question. Okay, so regarding the glandular tissue, a question can come that classify exocrine glandular epithelium on the basis of morphology along with examples. Now, as you know, how do we classify the glandular epithelium? Glandular epithelium, it consists of a ductal part and a secretory part. So, depending upon the branching of the ductal part, we classify it into simple glands. Simple glands, you can see the ductal part is straight, is not branching. This is known as simple glands. While the compound glands are the glands where the ductal parts, it gives branches, and then in the end are the secretory part. So compound glands are the glands which have branching ducts. Ducts are branching and then there is secretory part. So simple glands consist of simple tubular glands. These are present in, example of this is intestinal glands of Lieberkühn. These are present in intestines, small and large. So these are simple tubular glands. Simple coiled tubular, the lower part is coiled, and example is sweat glands. Then comes the simple branch tubular gland. Now example is mucus glands of esophagus, tongue and duodenum. The duct is single, but the secretory part, it branches. Simple branch tubular. Simple alveolar, they are not found in adult. Simple alveolar or acinar, so acinar shaped. And simple branched alveolar, example is sebaceous glands. Now coming to the compound tubular, you can see the secretory part is tubular and it is also branching. And mucus glands in mouth, gastric glands, bulbourethral glands. So these are all examples of compound tubular glands. So to remember, the gastric glands in the stomach is the example of compound tubular glands. While in the compound alveolar gland or acinar gland, example is mammary gland. You can see compound alveolar gland. The ducts are branching and then again the alveolar portion is branching. Then comes the compound tubulo-alveolar gland or tubulo-acinar gland. Example is salivary glands and pancreas, exocrine portion. So best example is compound tubulo-alveolar gland is salivary gland. I hope this video has helped you a lot. Thank you so much.